What's that? Ed Malbeck. Thanks, Cal. Rather than recite the Constitution again, back to healthcare. The healthcare reform, I have two major issues with healthcare reform. It's a fundamental encroachment on our rights, forcing us to buy healthcare, forcing everybody, every living and breathing citizen in the United States to buy healthcare. The other part of it is we can't afford it. It will bankrupt us. And what I want to mention about bankrupting us, there was an earlier in the pilot this week, a 9-point plan came out by a couple candidates. Another candidate here claimed to have authored it before that. I'm a one-issue candidate, and I look at it as an intervention for the United States. And it would be a 3-step process. It would be stop the growth of the federal government and stop its encroachment in our lives. Step 1. Step 2, after we stop the encroachment in our lives, put the federal government on a diet. This has been going on for decades. We have to fundamentally reduce the size of the federal government. And it's going to be, we need to do it for decades. And a good example that General Mississauga had here was the Department of Education. When we see big targets of the federal government involved in our lives that we shouldn't be doing, that are no benefit of our taxpayer dollars, the Department of Education does no benefit to teachers and our students. Either remove them, completely reinvent them, or reduce them. Thank you.
Good evening, my name is Doug Hutchison. 10th Amendment, it's very easy. As Mr. Mississauga pointed out, if it's not enumerated, you go back and just look at the history of the Constitution in that period. There were many states that were not willing to even sign the Constitution without the Bill of Rights because the 10th Amendment was there to limit growth. That's very simple. Everyone tonight's beating up on healthcare, Department of Education. There are a lot of other ones too. Roads. Gee, we have to fight to get our own tax money back. Something's wrong there. And another one that a lot of people don't like to talk about, but the Liberty Movement does, the Federal Reserve. Taxes. Thank you. Congress abdicating the power. They don't have the right to. It's in the Constitution. The point is, what would I do? Hey, we don't have to do anything except adhere to the Constitution. It's already there. We don't have to make new legislation. We don't have to make a change except obey the law of the land as it stands. It's very simple. It's on the books. Obey the law and go to jail. Finally, there's a little piece of legislation I would like to I wouldn't sponsor it. It's already been sponsored. I'd like to bring it back up. The Enumerated Powers Act. Are you guys familiar with that? The Enumerated Powers Act says when Congress brings a bill forward to be signed, they have to cite, just like a high school term paper, where they have the authority to execute that law. So it's very simple. They can't make stuff up. They have to do their homework and say, we're doing it because of this and we have the rights. Thank you.
I'm going to cite the Department of Education as well, too. Don't charge me for plagiarism. I think that we've been trampled on. The 10th Amendment rights have been trampled on, absolutely, and this Constitution has been circumvented. The Department of Education, for example, is an excellent example. Billions of dollars are spent every single year. We spend double per pupil what we did 30 years ago, although we're no better off. You have a huge bureaucracy and administration costs, but those dollars could be better served educating our children for the future. You're seeing budget cuts in Virginia right now. It would be so much better, of course, if we didn't have that huge bulking bureaucracy up there so that we could educate our kids better right here in Virginia. Thank you very much.
Jessica Sandlin. Do you ever feel like you're rearranging deck chairs on the deck of the Titanic? I mean, really. Well, what can I say about the 10th Amendment that hasn't already been said? Yes, I would absolutely refrain from voting for a bill on that basis alone, of course. I would cite No Child Left Behind, and I would also cite Medicare Part D when I look at two examples of that. Education, federally funded does not have to mean federally controlled. There's more than one model of education, but we are funding one model. We're funding it over and over again I don't understand why. We don't have to reinvent the wheel. There are plenty of examples of processes in education that work really well. So that would be one thing that also that I would touch on.
If I stand up, are you going to fall off?
I might.
I better hold on to you then. About 3 months ago, when I first joined this campaign, after being the chairman here in Virginia Beach of the Republican Party, I wrote a piece about the 10th Amendment because I spent some time with Ken Cuccinelli as he was running around trying to get elected to this wonderful office. He's now our Attorney General. And I wrote a piece that said the key to our victory over health care and the key to our keeping our Constitution intact is going to be the 10th Amendment. And it still is going to be the 10th Amendment. To answer the question directly, no, I would not have voted for this health care bill because it doesn't comply with the 10th Amendment. Now, we got into education a little bit. I have an education plan. Take a look at the website, and what it says is don't kill the Department of Education. Take the Department of Education, cut it in half, cut its budget in half, and then take half of that budget and give it back to the states where it belongs, where the people can control it, where we can educate our young men and women, and then take the other half and do what you should be doing, and that is research and development on what works in the country, what works in the world, and what will work here in the United States of America. Thank you.
Now at this point, I'd like to shift up to a slightly faster pace for a little bit so you can see how long it takes to get through all the candidates. Now this is our plan, by the way, to reduce the